Valley School District is receiving backlash tonight after a flyer for an after-school Satan club at Jane Addams Elementary School began circulating online. But a 2001 U.S. Supreme Court decision says it's all a matter of free speech. And as News 8's Jenna Webster now explains, it's actually one group's point that they have just as much right to be there as another group. It's new tonight on News 8 at 10.
It's a flyer with an eye-catching statement. Hey kids, let's have fun at After School Satan Club. The club is new to Jane Addams Elementary School, and it's caused some controversy online. Facebook comments saying this proves just how lost our country is. This world is going to hell in a handbasket, and the name is disturbing, doesn't scream let me send my child. While some are calling for the principal and school board to be fired. But despite what the name might imply, the Satanic Temple says the club's not actually about promoting worship of the devil.
This actually isn't a club that's meant to proselytize Satanism or even engage in discussions about religious opinion.
Lucian Greaves is the co-founder of the Satanic Temple. He says the club is an alternative to the Christian Good News Club, also offered at Jane Addams. That's a program run by the Child Evangelism Fellowship, saying it's designed to bring the gospel of Christ to children on their level in their environment.
So we thought it would be nice to offer some people an alternative from that kind of horrific indoctrination program.
He says students will do science or art projects, and it's supposed to promote critical thinking. But at the end of the day, the Moline-Coal Valley School District is required to provide equal access to all groups.
There's no point in calling up the principal. There's no point in calling up the superintendent and berating them for allowing us in. It's the Supreme Court and it's our constitutional liberties that allow us to be there.
And the Satanic Temple has no plans to leave. In Moline, Jenna Webster, WQAD, News 8.
The district says it's simply following the rules. Moline-Coal Valley Schools emphasize no district teachers are involved with the club. Flyers for the club were placed in the Jane Addams lobby, which is what's required of the district. It's also saying if it were to deny the after-school Satan Club, it would open the district to a discrimination lawsuit that they say it would not win. And parents are also required to sign a permission slip for their child to attend.
This is Psalms chapter 55, verse 21, and it reads, "The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords." Call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakakodash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to the election. Shalom Yasharallah. I wonder if and when the so-called powers that be finally get tired of being told their destruction and end of rulership is imminent and certain, as we Hebrew Israelites in the faith are known to do, day in, day out, video after video, sit down after sit down. Will they take into consideration that we too have the same rights to freedom of speech as these idolaters do, who hide their wickedness behind Supreme Court rulings and constitutional liberties? For those of you wide awake, you know that was rhetorical. You and I know that the Constitution only suits E when he's trying to persuade you to do what benefits him, always with the call to patriotism. Some of you Israelites are still guilty of that too, or hints of nostalgia, what America the dream was built on and is supposed to be and represent. Other than that, George Bush Jr. said the Constitution is just a goddamn piece of paper. And believe me when I tell you that is the sentiment shared by said people who propose to rule over you. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. Lucian said, this isn't a club that's meant to proselytize Satanism or even engage in discussions on religious opinion. If that is not the sole purpose of your proposed gathering, Lucian, then where is the alternative you say you are hoping to present? I mean, that is what he said, right? This after school special is supposed to be an offering to a alternative for the Christian Good News Club. This is the kind of double talky dum-dum loves to engage in. Twirls and whirls it in your face with the hope you miss what's really being said and what's really going on. What's the good news? I mean, at this point, we We've already deciphered the Christians don't even know. They think they do. We in the truth know the gospel is that we, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, have a Savior, Deliverer, and Redeemer in Yahweh Shai. When he returns, those of the election will be saved, and the devil that rules this earth, along with the other nations and the 2/3 who follow him, will be repaid for their wickedness perpetrated on the earth and the Most High's chosen people in double. So what's the alternative to that? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. Be honest, how many of you, when you heard it, immediately said to yourself, any so-called alternative to what is supposed to be based on righteousness must be an unrighteous thing? How many of you were bothered by that? How many of you didn't even bat an eye? How many of you remember playing the opposites word game in school? How many of you own a dictionary? Because that's essentially what alternative means. Available as another possibility. Even a child will tell you that if it ain't from God, it has to be from the devil. Proverbs 20:11. Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure and whether it be right. Mind you, the powers that be would still have you believe the red-colored monster with the horns protruding out of his head, that's the devil. He's the one that made me do it. Now, those of us in the truth, we're already hip to the sleight of hand Esau is trying to play here. It ain't about good versus evil. Besides the fact he'll never tell you he's the devil that the scriptures is speaking about. Take another look at the after-school club logo. Even when he lies, he tells the truth. But all in all, that's not what he's trying to do here. It's not about good forces against evil forces. It's about giving the Lord's glory to another. Isaiah 42:8 says this, I am the Lord. All caps, when you see all caps, it's in reference to the Lord's true name, not title, which is Yahweh. That is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to what? To graven images. This is the trick Esau has been attempting to play since time immemorial. This is the internal conflict he wants you to play out in your head. Why? So he can keep you confused. This has been his job since the book of Genesis 3:14. And the Lord power said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. That dust is speaking of the state of confusion he's in, that he perpetuates throughout the earth and uses to rule over the cattle, the goyim, if you will, the other nations on the planet Earth. That's why most of you still believe the scriptures were speaking about an actual snake. Eve ate an actual apple, which caused us to sin and go off, and the devil is a spiritual being without a physical counterpart that is solely responsible for all this madness. Now, Isaiah 45:7 dispels that latter fallacy right away, and let's do that because I want to emphasize what's been playing out lately, especially in mainstream media, which is the medium the warlocks and witches of the elite use to cast their spells. That I think we should be paying attention to. Disney being the greatest example, which goes back to this story on children. Isaiah 45:7 says this, I form the light and create darkness. This is the Lord speaking. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord Yahweh, do all these things. Meaning Yahweh performs good as well as evil. Evil being a compound word, ev meaning age or time, ill meaning bad. Ergo, Satan does not work independently of the Most High. When Yahweh wills to deliver unfavorable judgment per se, he commissions his angels on the left, which includes Esau. 1 Samuel 16:14. But the spirit of Yahweh departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from Yahweh troubled him. The name Yahweh is Hebrew, and it means he is, meaning he is everything. Joy and pain, sunshine and rain, good and evil, no need of assistance from Rob Base. Inside joke. Psalm 78:49. He casts upon them the fierceness of his anger, and again, that he is Yahweh. Wrath and indignation meaning righteous anger, and trouble by sending what? evil angels among them. Psalm 17 and 13. Arise, O Yahweh, disappoint him and cast him down. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is Esau, which is thy sword. This whole alternative thing is being done to stupefy you, the parents, as well as the child onlooker, not grounded in this truth, and distract you from what's really going on, simultaneously giving you this false sense of security in a Lord who is only responsible for good things. The Lord is good all the time. Good times. Therefore, you can get away with all the wickedness you want to because the Lord is merciful. All you got to do is pray to the Lord and Satan can have no power over you. That is the vibration being sent out by Dum and his minions. Now, the scriptures say that the Lord does allow evil to prosper till an appointed time. Then what? Destruction. Matter of fact, let's get that. Psalm 37, we'll pick it up at 7, and it says this: Rest in the Lord Yahweh, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. The prime minister of sinister doings, of course, being spoken of here is Esau Edom. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be what? Cut off. But those that wait upon the Lord Yahweh, they shall inherit the earth. Job 12 and 6. The tabernacles of robbers prosper, and they that provoke the Most High are secure, into whose hand the heavenly Father bringeth abundantly. But ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee. And this goes into the idea that in every living being created by Yahweh, they were crafted with the sense of having order. Order being light, which is understanding and knowledge. Even Esau, his order is disorder and confusion, and all that is adverse to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father. Incidentally, that's what the name Lucian means light. However, the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, pursuant to Sirach, the 19th chapter. Ergo, performing wicked acts are not wise to do. 12 and 7 again. But ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee. Or speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee, and the fishes of the sea shall declare unto thee. Who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord hath wrought this? Who doesn't know that these are Yahweh's works, that these are the acts of the Most High power? In whose hand is the soul of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind? Simply put, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, but every breathing thing is in the hand of Yahweh Yahweh Shai, his only begotten Son, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Job 12 and 16, with him, again the him is Yahweh, with him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. See, Esau is always trying to take a census because ultimately he's always looking to categorize you. There are two groups of people present day when it comes to the threat to, how should I say, Esau's rulership. Those who know the truth and those comfortable with still living the lie. Those that know what's really going on are, of course, harder to control. Now, let me ask you a question, which is a segue into what I've been noticing more than ever lately and what I wanted to point your attention to, for those of you who may not have noticed. The question is, what category do children fit in? Proverbs 22 and 6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. I ask because this story is just one of the plethora of stories out there concerning children. And if you haven't noticed, children have been the major focus well before this scandemic started. And I'm speaking and pertaining to the end of days. From the sexual indoctrination up until now, with what age can they receive the hot shot? You know what? Let me play you a sequence of clips and you'll see exactly what I mean. And basically what all this comes down to, because even though I was drawn to the opening story, it's a series of stories that work together that help to communicate the bigger picture.
High School is one of the first in the nation to have a new kind of security.
Facial recognition cameras scan people's faces as they try to get in the building. If you're not in their system, You can't get in.
So I'm not a student, a staff member, or a normal visitor to St. Mary's High School. So when I walked through these doors and I stood in front of this camera, it didn't recognize my face and it wouldn't let me in.
Hundreds of bus riders in Palos Heights School District 128 have been issued these electronic reader cards, which they've tied to their backpacks. When a child gets on or off a bus, it registers date, time, and location information and relays it to computers in the school's office.
It's not something we're used to seeing in school cafeterias. Students paying for their school lunches with a wave of a hand. It's already used in some schools across the country, but 3 schools in the Los Lunas School District would have been the first in New Mexico to try it out this week. That is, until concerned parents spoke up.
No longer are students at the Visitation School in Kensington taking the time-consuming business of carrying around a school ID. Instead, CBS 3's Mary Stoker-Smith shows us how they are letting their fingers do the talking.
It's just a scan of the finger and you're in.
All it takes is a swipe of a student's index finger and they're safely checked into school.
Like science fiction, placing a microchip under the skin to get you in your door, to start your car, or maybe give your doctor your medical history.
Or what if your child were to disappear? Would you be willing to place a chip in your child?
The long and short of it is, when the powers that shouldn't be show focus or aim their agenda at a particular age bracket or group, what they're saying is that that group needs to be swayed because they are integral to whatever agenda they're attempting to implement, or they possess a power that either needs to be channeled or harnessed, which directly works to the agenda's benefit. 1 Corinthians 14:20 says, "Brethren, be not children in understanding, howbeit in malice be ye children, but in understanding be men." Children, being impressionable, have long been the weak spot to you parents. Does Esau think his house will continue forever? Yes, but this thing is not only about him indoctrinating them at an earlier age for his later conveniences, if you will. Ultimately, it's about going through them to pacify us. Deuteronomy 28:50, "A nation of fierce countenance which shall not regard the person of the old nor shew favor to the young." No different than Herod seeking the life of our Lord Yahweh Shai. Esau has always shown a basic disregard for life, starting with our young for a reason. What message do you think Columbus was trying to send to the onlookers when he cut the pregnant bellies out of our sisters and women for others to see? Deuteronomy 29:29, "The secret things belong unto the Lord Yahweh our power, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law." What message do you think Esau's trying to send by mandating the YAB to our children, implementing finger scans and facial recognition in their schools, or pretending to give you the option for their safety by having them microchipped? No matter how far Dum Dum is willing to go in attempting to corrupt Yahweh's children and his truth, the doctrine of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, this 100% truth we teach today, has long been made manifest, starting with the apostles and his prophets. Let's close with this. I hope I didn't lose you along the way, and I hope you see what I'm seeing, and I hope you know which direction we need to focus our ministry. Let's close with this. This is Matthew 18:3, and it reads, "And said, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven." And this is Yahweh Shai speaking here, as it is all red letter. "Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoso shall receive such little child in my name receiveth me. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me," which is really speaking to the elect of Israel, but the idea here applies, "it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea." Call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakakwadash, through the power and spirit. I hope you are edified. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who teach us 100% truth and rule well. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Remember, no tests, no yab, and damn sure, don't take that chip. Shalom Yasharallah. Kwame Yasharallah. Wa Abba Babal.
Well, in case you're wondering if it's really a spiritual war we're watching, here's this news story. The Illinois Elementary School is offering an after-school Satan Club. The local school district is defending the Satan Club. It's sponsored by the Satanic Temple of the United States. The club claims it will help kids learn benevolence and empathy as well as, quote, personal sovereignty. We're going to the source on this story. Lucienne Graves is with the Satanic Temple and joins us tonight. Mr. Graves, thanks so much for coming on. So I have to ask, are parents complaining that there's an after-school Satan Club at their children's school?
Some are, but they don't have to send their children to the program. It's available for parents who do want to send their children to the program, and it's there as an alternative to religious clubs that are made to proselytize to children. Ours doesn't include items of religious opinion. It doesn't include indoctrination. It just has a self-directed learning program with trained educators there to help guide the children through different activities and projects that they want to engage in.
Where are the Satan Club's trained educators trained? Is there a Satan School of Theology?
No, we've got educators who have volunteered with us. We vet them. We do the criminal background checks that aren't required of after-school clubs and haven't been required of any of the religious clubs because we want to be responsible about this. And we make sure that they understand the curriculum, they understand what we want to do in this program, and that they're able to execute that.
So, I love your use of the word execute. Have any school administrators said, look, I know you can lecture me about religious freedom, but you're a Satan Club, but we're not going to let little kids go to the Satan Club. Is anybody, or are they just passive like everyone else in America and kind of letting it happen?
Well, that's not being passive. That's understanding what the law is. That's understanding what the Constitution is. That's understanding what free speech is and what religious liberty is. And there's a lot of people who express a lot of uproar about this, and they go to the school board, they complain to the principals, they complain to the superintendent. But a school board cannot overturn the Supreme Court, and there's no point in harassing them.
So could there be an I Hate Gays Club or Black People Are Inferior Club? And the answer, of course, is no, because the community, and I'm not advocating for either one of those things, but the community has some say in what its kids are exposed to on government property, i.e. a public school. So you're just telling me that everyone's just kind of going along with it because Supreme Court.
Well, the Supreme Court allowed in religion. They said that not having religious clubs would be religious discrimination. I disagree. I think you can categorically deny religion, but what you can't do is give the government the opportunity to pick and choose between which religious viewpoints they'll allow and which ones they won't.
They do all the time. I mean, you can be suspended from school for quoting portions of the Old Testament, like immediately. You could be. I mean, I'm trying not to use profanity on the air, but what you're saying is ridiculous. We both know it's ridiculous, and I just want to be really clear on this, because to me it's another example of people just sitting back and being like, oh, I guess I have to. Let's have their drag time story hour for fourth graders like that. I can't say anything. And you're confirming that everyone feels that way. They kind of have to go along with it for some reason.
Well, people get upset about it, people like you, and they don't reconcile their viewpoints on free speech and religious liberty. I don't know what you're suggesting. I don't know if you're suggesting if the school board should say, no, this is not allowed, and we're going against the Supreme Court ruling that says
what I'm
religions
saying
are
is
allowed.
You ought to be allowed to quote the New Testament out loud in school. If we're going to apply the standard, which I suppose I'd be happy to live under, we have to apply it equally, but it's not applied equally, as you know. And I suppose, have you been in touch?
I don't know the New Testament story you're speaking of, but we would defend anybody's right to practice their religion, and we're not asking for other religious clubs to be taken out.
Look,
we're asking for equal access.
Right, and I'm just saying the school would not provide that if it were an expression of Orthodox Christianity, as you know. But Lucienne Graves, I appreciate your coming on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.